Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce 2018 State of the City Legislative Breakfast, or as we affectionately call it, the Mayor's Breakfast. I'm Maria TERRIS, the event manager for the Chamber, and I'd like you to all stand so that we can pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And thank you all for joining us this morning. I'd like to say I'm not used to being on this side of the podium, as I'm sure DEANNE isn't used to being over there, and not taking pictures. Courtney, this is my good side. I'd like to thank our distinguished guests and our elected officials, the Honorable Mayor Edward A. Betancourt Jr., Senator Joan Lovely, Representative Ted Speliotis, who will be scooching in a little late, I think, and Representative Tom Walsh. City Councilors at Large Dave Gravel and Tom Gould, Light Plant Commissioners Tom Paris, Tom D'Amato, and Robert Wheatley, and Councilor Tom Rosignol. Did anyone notice there's 4 Toms out of 6 names there? I think there's some psychology behind that, but we are excited to share today's event with students in the Advanced Placement History class from Peabody Veterans Memorial High School, as well as students currently participating in our Young Entrepreneurs Academy. Can you all stand up? See how many students are here today? Thank you. Thank you. You can sit. They are able to join us today thanks to businesses who sponsored 1 or more students, including Phil Richard Insurance, Atlantic Ambulance, Land Computer, Senator Joan Lovely, Metro Credit Union, Salem News, Law Office of Teresa Reed, Northeast Regional Ambulance, Citizens Inn, AFLAC, Salem 5 Bank, and Eastern Bank. Thank you all very much for giving these students the opportunity to share in this today. Today's presenting sponsor is North Shore Bank, a community bank that continues to grow but retains their commitment to provide quality banking services to families and businesses throughout the North Shore. On behalf of the Chamber, I thank them for their support and their annual sponsorship of the Legislative Breakfast. Please join me in welcoming President Kevin Tierney.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, it's North Shore Bank's pleasure to sponsor this State of the City Legislative Breakfast. And as a sponsor, I suppose this is where we're given an opportunity to do a little marketing and give you a little commercial about our organization. But first, I'd like to thank the Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event and applaud the Chamber for everything and its membership does for the City of Peabody throughout the entire year. This entrepreneur program is just one example of the innovative opportunities that the Chamber pursues in taking a leadership position in the community. I'd also like to acknowledge the elected officials who are here with us this morning and discuss some of the challenges and opportunities facing the businesses and residences in the City of Peabody. I'd like to share an observation with you about our legislative delegation. Last week I attended a meeting which was also attended by many of the officials that are in the room this morning. The agenda for the meeting was a business outlook for 2018. Well, I've seen many instances of cooperation in the past. I was really struck at this meeting by the relationship and collaboration amongst the legislative delegation and our municipal leaders. It's obvious that their approach to serving their constituents transcends their position of influence and is firmly based on their beliefs in making a difference. It's based on their good character and respect for others. At that meeting, Mayor Betancourt outlined some of the key accomplishments of the city, as well as challenges that lie ahead for the city. Senator Lovely, along with Representatives Speliotis and Walsh, highlighted what they are doing at the State House in support of these and other endeavors. We are indeed fortunate to have this group of people working for us to solve problems and make our communities better places to live and work in working together. So now for the commercial. North Shore Bank is the only community financial institution that was originally chartered in the city of Peabody as the George Peabody Cooperative Bank, is still very viable today and growing very nicely. We have been a willing and beneficial participant in the city of Peabody since 1888. And I assure you that after 130 years of business, we will continue our long tradition of both philanthropic engagement in meeting the financial needs of the people and businesses of the city of Peabody in the future. We're a proud partner with you on the very initiatives that you'll hear about today, whether they range from affordable housing or downtown improvement projects or education. They have all made Peabody an even better place in which to live, work, and do business. And I thank you for allowing us to participate this morning. And on behalf of the directors and staff at North Shore Bank, I wish everyone a healthy and prosperous 2018.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce's annual State of the City breakfast. I'm Chris FEAZEL, and I'm the 2018 Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Chamber of Commerce. I have to admit that even though I stand in front of people in the employee benefits field every day, it's a little intimidating to stand and speak in front of people who stand and speak in front of people. So I asked my father-in-law for some advice over the weekend, because he does this as well, and his advice was watch speeches of very good public speakers and take notes. I did. And so having watched Coach Bill Belichick frequently over the weekend, I've realized all I need to do is stand here, stare at you all, grunt, and say we're moving on. Thank you. So we've been working hard over the last year to help promote the mission of the Chamber of Commerce in the community, and we realized that many people only see us at ribbon cuttings or networking events, and we've even been told by a few in the younger generation that this is an old person's club. So hopefully those of you in the room who are younger help us change that perception. I know those in attendance this morning already know that the real value of a local Chamber of Commerce lies in the strength of having one voice. Having one strong voice for local business is crucial when there are broad issues that impact a substantial portion of our membership or an entire industry. The issues themselves change from year to year, but range from zoning requirements to economic development, community needs, and of course, legislative issues. We've developed a strong working relationship with our elected officials. They know they can count on the Peabody Area Chamber of Commerce to let them know how proposed changes will impact our business community. I'm pleased to have so many distinguished businesses and community leaders here with us today to share with you an update on what's happening locally and on the state level. We have a lot of ground to cover this morning, but you know how important it is to recognize our sponsors. So on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we'd like to recognize the following businesses for their kind support, generous contribution, and commitment to the local business community. Our premier sponsor, of course, is North Shore Bank. Our gold sponsor is Capital One Cafe. Our table sponsors, Atlantic Ambulance, Chelsea Jewish Life Care, Eastern Bank, Leahy Medical Center, Lionwa Auto Group, Phil Richard Insurance, Salem 5 Bank. And our corporate sponsors are AFLAC, Citizens Inn, Holden Oil, Land Computer, Metro Credit Union, Northeast Regional Ambulance Service, Reed Law Firm, State Senator Joan Lovely, and the Salem News. Thank you all for sponsoring. Now, I'm excited to let you in on a little breaking news at the Chamber. Our executive board has been hard at work trying to find a new executive director, very tough to replace DEANNE, to lead the Chamber into 2018 and beyond. After we've reviewed over 100 resumes, and we've conducted over 18 phone and in-person interviews, we have finally found a great new executive director for the Chamber of Commerce. While we cannot yet share the name of the new director, because notice has not yet been given to a current employer, please keep an eye out for an announcement within the next week. Now, please join me in welcoming the woman whose shoes the new executive director has to try to fill. I was going to say large shoes, but they're more fashionable than large. Right? Past president of the Chamber and current president of Peabody Main Street, DEANNE HEALEY.
Thank you, Chris. Bet you didn't expect to see me up here again so soon, huh? But I'm fortunate in my new role with Salem 5 Bank. They've encouraged me to stay involved in the community and maintain my role on Peabody Main Streets. And there's so much good and exciting stuff happening there. I just want to give you a brief update. So first, before we begin, why downtown? Why the focus on downtown? If you stop for a minute and you look at, think about a Newburyport, a Salem, a Melrose, what's the first thing that comes to mind? They're vibrant downtown. It's a destination for people. And that's why it was important for the Chamber to partner with the city in focusing on revitalizing downtown. Also, our membership, the membership of the Chamber played a huge role in that. Every time we surveyed the Chamber, it came out in one of the top 3 initiatives that they felt that the Chamber should be involved in, revitalizing downtown, because a rising tide lifts all boats. So if we have a lot of people that want to live downtown, come and visit, it's going to help every business all over the community. So that's why it's important. What a lot of people don't know is Main Streets is actually a national model. It's been around for over 15 years. It's employed in many cities across the United States. And it's a framework that helps you work towards revitalization. It's made up of 3 components: economic vitality, which is focused on attracting developers downtown; design, which is responsible for the look and feel of the community; and then promotions, the fun people that get to plan events that attract people downtown or promote the community as a whole. So how did we land upon the National Main Streets model? It started about 5 years ago when the city commissioned a consultant to come in and take a look at the brownfields that were scattered throughout downtown, and to figure out how they could be reused, how we could redevelop that space. But what the report provided was a SWOT analysis of downtown. And so the mayor appointed a committee of people represented from the city, elected officials, business people, even some residents, to take a look at the report, prioritize what was outlined in there, and then start tackling it. And that's what we've used as the framework for our Main Streets program. I'm pleased to say Main Streets has been in existence now for just 2 years, and in that time we have completed or have in progress 2/3 of the initiatives that we had outlined from that report. So progress is being made in many, many ways. What you'll start to see this year is very exciting. There's really going to be a whole change to the south side of Main Street. If you look at 1 Main Street, which was the old China Corner, it's going to be home to new apartments, the new home of Brody's. Right next to there in the former congressman's office will be a family restaurant, La Siesta. And then further on, as you move up the street, we're looking at adding a new event space. The Next Mex restaurant will move up there. Granite Coast Brewing has signed on to come on board. And also, just this week, Create and Escape, which is a DIY workshop that some of the ladies in the room might be aware of. So that whole side of the street in the next year is really going to be changing. The other piece that goes along with that, that is part of the whole downtown initiative too, is the TDI district, which is the Walnut Street corridor. And one of the things is we're trying to do is link Main Street to Walnut Street so that there's really a whole community there. And so there's a lot of work going on with that. You'll be hearing more about that. The other thing, as we kind of go through this whole process, there's some concerns that we hear from businesses or residents. One, they want to know who's paying for Main Streets. Nobody. We're a nonprofit. We're all volunteer. We operate off of a very tiny grant from the community block grant funds, and then any money we raise from our pop-up events, like the pop-up pubs in the square, they usually make a little bit of money. We plow that right back into the Main Streets program, and they usually pay for the family-type events like Nightmare on Main Street, a holiday stroll, that type of thing. So there's no actual city money that's funding Main Streets right now. So to that end, I invite you all on March 3rd to come out to the pop-up ice bar, which will happen again on City Hall Plaza. We're praying for 4 degrees again this year. But it's a great event. It's a great community building thing. And what it has demonstrated through these events is that if we have a reason for people to come downtown, they will come downtown. And it's not just attracting residents from Peabody, it's attracting people from all over the North Shore, and people have their eye on Peabody, so I'm pleased to be part of it. So I'm sure you're going to hear more from our elected officials as well, so thank you.
Good morning. What a great turnout for a kind of messy commute out there. But grateful to be here to offer some remarks. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm really grateful for some really strong working relationships we have here in Peabody, especially with your really great mayor, Mayor Betancourt. We work very closely together, the delegation, with the city, with your city council and your school committee, the electric light plant, and especially your business community. We are really very, very grateful for really strong relationships that really make a difference when we're all pulling in the same direction. I want to share with you, I have actually, at my table this morning, I met two really young, dynamic women. And I wanted to share with you, as we were talking over breakfast, what they're doing. And you may know it, but I didn't, so I'm so very, very impressed. These two young women are under the Young Entrepreneurs Association initiative under the Chamber. Taylor is in 8th grade, and she created this very unique concept called Cozy Bowls. Some of you may know about this. So Cozy Bowls are you put your bowl of whatever you're going to be heating in the microwave into a covering that will then go into the microwave, and then you heat up your, whatever your meal is, you take it out, and you can hold the bowl. And so you can take it back to the table, to the couch that she mentioned. I went, that's where I would be going. And I think it's such a unique concept, and it's something that she put together. She's a sewer, so she put this together. I grew up knowing how to sew, sewed all my kids' clothes. And so I just think that's really, really terrific. And another young woman that's at our table, Monica, who's a senior at Peabody High, and hers is Sports Across America, so she's a graduate of this program, and you probably know about her, but I didn't. And so she goes and collects and arranges to collect used sporting equipment to be able to distribute then to those that can't afford maybe to buy new. And I just think that's a really amazing concept, because think about it, not every student out there is going to be able to go out and get all that hockey gear. So to be able to have that opportunity to get some good sporting equipment, to be able to do your sport in high school, it's really a terrific concept. So I want to say also thank you to all the students here this morning who are here. You are our next generation who will be sitting in these seats in this, what do they call it, an old club or something? We're not that old. But you'll be here someday, the business leaders of our next generation. So thank you for the interest to be here. So I just want to give a quick round of applause to all our students here today. So we have been busy in the State House. We are in year 2 of our session, and we are working very busily on passing, well, 6,000 bills got filed. 6,000 bills will not pass, usually about 600 bills, about 10% passes every year, but we're working very hard on a lot of bills with my colleagues in the House. And I want to give a very special shout out to my colleagues, to Rep. Tucker from Salem, Rep. Paracella from Beverly, Rep. Hill from Ipswich, Rep. Spiliotis from Danvers, who hopefully will be here. He's the chair of bills in 3rd reading. That's the 3rd most powerful position, and I was going to pay him a compliment this morning, maybe get him an extra cup of coffee, because every bill that goes through the State House lands on his desk. But we've got great relationship, and of course, my really wonderful colleague from here, Rep. Walsh from Peabody. As Kevin mentioned, we have a very strong relationships in the State House, among also with our city delegation, and again, it really makes a difference. So we've been busy. It's all been great work. We've done equal pay for equal work legislation. Pregnant Worker Fairness Act is the first one in the country that I led that on the Senate side, so that there's reasonable accommodations between a pregnant worker and an employer, really cutting edge. That's just never been done. And we're working on creating more opportunities for a better workforce. When Kevin mentioned we met with the North Shore Chamber last week, I want to say out of the 50 or 60 businesses that were represented in that room that morning, at least 99% said that they need a more skilled and educated workforce. So I know we have higher ed here today. I was a little disappointed that the governor kind of flat funded higher ed this year. Please know that that also has the opportunity to go through the House and Senate, and we'll make that a priority because we really do. When I heard that, I knew it, but to hear it from business after business, very different businesses, everyone from hospitality to manufacturing to whatever it is, everyone needs workforce. They're saying, yep, we've had a great year, but we want to grow, and we can't grow because we can't find people. So please know that we heard you and loud and clear, and we want to be able to put those supports in place. You know, we have a robust housing market, which is great, but I've got 3 adult children, 20-somethings, that are, trying to get into the housing market with school loans, which is difficult. So we need to take a look at being able to create more affordable housing for workforce housing. So we really need to be paying attention to that, and we are. I'm not going to go too much into the budget. I was hoping Rep. Spiliotis would be here because he did such a great job last week talking about the budget that the governor just put out, but I'm going to leave that to him if he shows up, if he's able to be here. But I wanted to just, 2 things you will see on the ballot this year is the minimum wage. So we just raised the minimum wage to $11 an hour. There is a big push, and it will be on the ballot to raise that to $15 per hour. So please pay attention to that. There'll be a lot of discussion about that this year and how that may affect your businesses going forward. And also the millionaire's tax will also be on the ballot, and that is where if you're making $1 million or more, you're taxed at 4 percentage points for every dollar that you make above that. Those funds will be geared towards transportation and education. I'm being told by the analysts, we are being told that millionaires won't move out of Massachusetts to avoid that tax. I think that remains to be seen to see what type of, if people will actually move to avoid paying a tax. But it's slated to raise quite a bit of money that we, again, can put towards education and transportation. I want to just say again, thank you for the opportunity to be here. We could go on for hours about what we're doing up at the State House. I'm going to allow Rep. Walsh, or ask Rep. Walsh, to talk about what's going on locally with Peabody, because we're really concentrating on the downtown, especially with the trolley study. So hopefully, I know he'll talk about that. So again, thanks for the opportunity to be here. It's really terrific, and thanks for all your strong partnership.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I found out this morning when I came in that I only had 2 minutes, so don't get too nervous. I typed it with a larger print thinking that I wouldn't have to wear my glasses, but I didn't print it large enough. So, but really, Chamber members, DeAnne, we miss you.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Mayor,
Still here.
some of the lovely guests. Thank you very much for having me this morning. I did write some things down, but I think given the time constraint, I'd like to talk to you about a couple things. The first is this. For those of you who were here a year ago, I was just beginning my first full 2-year term. I had been elected in a special election 9 months prior to that, and when I was speaking with you last year, I had yet to get my committee assignments. I was filled in to a couple spots that were open when I originally went in, and then last January, it was probably a day or two after we met that I was assigned to the Ways and Means Committee, the Committee on Transportation, Public Safety and Homeland Security, along with Tourism. And I have to say that at first I thought, well, the Ways and Means I did ask for as well as Transportation, because I thought that's where I could have the most impact. And when I left here a year ago and was assigned that the Ways and Means Committee, we started our hearings across the state on the $40 billion budget. And again, we will start that February 6th I also had the honor last year of chairing one of those committee hearings along with Senator Lovely when we were at Endicott College discussing transportation issues.
We're going to do it again this year.
Okay, good.
Right.
All right. Just a few quick things here. The budget, just so you know the timeline over the course of the next year. The governor submitted his budget a couple weeks ago. The Ways and Means Committee will now conduct its hearings along with the Senate. The House will take its action by mid-April usually, and then the Senate will do its work and report out a budget sometime in May. Then a conference committee will be appointed, and they will try to work out the differences among the governor's proposals, the House and the Senate proposals, and we will have a budget for the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30th, and the new fiscal year, FY19, starts on July 1st. Senator Lovely talked about some things that are occurring locally, and nothing that I do is really individual. It takes everybody to make things work. And a classic example of that is my colleagues on the City Council are here, Dave Gravel, Tommy Gould, Tom Rosignol, and Mark O'Neill, who I didn't serve with them on the council, but look forward to working with you in this capacity. But one of the first things we addressed this past year was the request by the City Council and the mayor for 20 new liquor licenses. And I will say that I took a little bit of ribbing at the State House. Hey, what are you doing there in Peabody, 20 liquor licenses? But when you explained what the intent was, that they were separated among 3 regions in the city, and that it was really a case for economic development, and I'm sure the mayor will talk a little bit about what's going on downtown and the new businesses that are coming in, and the need for those liquor licenses so that they can provide the services that everybody in this room, I think when you go out to dinner, expects that that will be available. So that's a good thing. But it was an interesting process because it was back and forth, working with the mayor's office, with Senator Lovely's office, again with Ted Spiliotis, who Joan mentioned is the chairman of third reading, and no bill gets out unless Ted Spiliotis says it gets out. So working with him, and he was also a sponsor of that bill, so it was great working with him. On the Transportation Committee, I've had the opportunity, we talk a lot about highways and construction, and we get legislation on license plates and all kinds of different things. But then we also got bills relating to a special commission on airport safety, aviation, and it turns out I ended up on a caucus called the Fair Skies Caucus, because we have this little issue in Peabody, and some of you are probably familiar with it. A few years ago, flight patterns were changed, and you'll probably notice that the planes come in flying a little bit lower and louder, particularly in South Peabody. But what happens is they really start their descent in Wenham and come down and then come in over the ocean and land. So we're working with Massport and the caucus, trying to figure out if there's a way to lessen the impact on several communities since that has changed. So that's an interesting project as well. I'm going to skip over a couple of things. Public safety, I'm on my way from here to Douglas, Massachusetts, to Nichols College to learn about college safety. You know, this is kind of an interesting time we live in, and the challenges that universities and colleges across the Commonwealth and really across the nation are facing. Keeping their students safe is of the utmost importance. So we're going for a briefing on that today, and you know, from that briefing, it's possible that new legislation could be forthcoming. On the Public Safety Committee, I was tasked earlier this year with a project that I found incredibly interesting. State Auditor Suzanne Bump had issued a report on the Sex Offender Registry Board and the fact that there were people who were supposed to register who had kind of gone off the grid a little bit. We couldn't quite find where they were. They're supposed to register every year with the registry board, and then your police department is aware of where everybody is living. So with Representative Tucker from Salem and Representative David Vieira from Barnstable, we have met with the Massachusetts Sheriff's Association several times. We've met with the Auditor's Office, with the Sex Offender Registry Board, with a couple of police departments, working on trying to tightening up this system so that we're protected. And so every neighborhood is protected. And what we're going to do is, you would think this occurs now, but every police department should have a contact, so that when somebody registers, that police department is notified and knows where this person is. And if they don't register at the end of the year, that police department is notified, so that we can find out where that person is and make sure that, again, neighborhoods are safe. Locally, a couple little projects. For those of you who came in off of Route 128, this was something that the council and the mayor and Senator Lovely and I talked about a while ago, but the ramp used to be backwards, as far as you'd come in over the highway, and you had the yield signs on the straightaway instead of coming in off of Route 128 and bearing to the right. You didn't have to yield. Now you have to yield. The bridge and the roadway has been repaved and reconfigured. And anecdotally from the police department, I understand that there are far fewer accidents occurring at that location, which is a very good thing. It's a small thing when you think, oh, big deal, you changed the lanes. It took over a year to get that done. You know, and what I've found out in the legislature in the short time that I've been back there is, you just don't take no for an answer, because I swear the answer to every request is no. And then you have to go back and be a little bit persistent. Joan mentioned the trolley. We were able to get in the budget $50,000 for a trolley study, and perhaps the mayor will touch on this as well. But there's a spur that runs from Peabody Square right over to the Salem train station. And it is our opinion that you could run a trolley on that track. My suggestion would be, if you can do it, is to take the mechanism on a maintenance vehicle. If you ever saw a maintenance vehicle on the railroad track, so it's a pickup truck or whatever with the apparatus underneath, if you could convert a trolley to that, you could get on and off of that track, and you could shuttle people from Peabody Square over to Salem Depot. So if you're going to work in Boston, you could hop the train, and vice versa. There's another piece to this, and that is, a lot of people come from Boston to Salem as tourists, and we had a tourism committee in Salem last year, and one of the comments was, you know, a lot of times at the end of the day, people who have come and visited all the historic sites and been to the Witch Museum or wherever, at the end of the day, they're like, okay, we want to do something different. You could hop that trolley, come down and have dinner down in Peabody Square, or somehow make your way to the North Shore Mall, which is the region's largest mall, and something that we really need to be taking advantage of. Mark, I see you out here, so we'll give you a plug. We should be taking advantage of the tourists who are coming up here to the North Shore and moving them into Peabody and showing them what we have. So we'll be working on that. A couple little things for those of you who have probably read in the paper. We have a neighborhood over on Route 128, abuts Route 128. It's Tammy Lane, which is between Endicott Street in Danvers and Route 114 in Peabody. And they are right on the highway. Their backyards abut the highway. There is going to be construction. The Waters River Bridge, which technically is in Danvers, but all the residents impacted are in Peabody. So we've been working with them, Joan and Ted, and Ted Speliotis and I have met with the neighbors on several occasions, working to see what we can do to mitigate their problems and the noise that they're going to be subjected to. And happy to say that the Mass Department of Transportation agreed, what, about a week ago, Joan? So that they will conduct the noise studies to see if, in fact, this neighborhood would qualify for a noise barrier. Now, I know that sounds a little bit boring, but this job is so much more than voting. I find that a lot of times we are judged by the votes we make. And the voting part of this job is so minimal compared to all the other things that we're involved in. Every day is different, which is the best part of this job. Every day when I walk through that door, I just don't know what that new challenge is going to be. You know, somebody will call with a Social Security problem, somebody will call with a housing issue, which by far is the most requested issue that I'm faced with. And it's probably the most challenging to solve because, as Joan mentioned, and we all know, the workforce housing is really not available. And we found that in tourism, that when we toured the state, especially on the Cape, anywhere where you're drawing people into restaurants and they're vacationing, they're trying to attract the workers to serve the tourists as they come in, but there's no place for them to stay. So that's something that we have to work on as well. I just want to wrap up with this. I know I took my 2 minutes. I took Teddy Speliotis' 2 minutes too, but Well, that gives me more time, I think. But no, I just want to leave you with this. You know, one of my favorite quotations is from John D. Rockefeller, and I think many of you have heard me say this before, but and this was years ago, obviously, but he said that the success of one is dependent upon the success of the other. And I think that is so true, and it's evident in what Kevin mentioned about the meeting we had last week with the North Shore Chamber over at Dave Gravel's and Dave and Kathy's at Grayvock. The success of every business is really dependent upon the success of our state government and our local government, and vice versa. The state couldn't do what it does, provide the services it provides, without a healthy business community. So to all of you, I say thank you. I'm looking forward to this next year. There's so much more I could report, but just know this. I'm available to all of you. If there's anything that ever concerns you, I have an open ear, and I think I'm easy to find. I do have Thursday nights free now. I'm no longer on the city council. So, and the other day, this is a true story, last Thursday night, I didn't realize a couple weeks ago the council had their first meeting. So then this Thursday night, I knew they had a council meeting. So I'm roaming around the house, and yeah, I looked. I checked to see what they were doing. They had already finished. And Mary says to me, please tell me that you are not looking for the city council meeting. Because you need something to do on Thursday night. So, so if you need me, I'm around. Thank you.
Well, good morning. My name is Ted Betancourt, and I hate the winter. From plowing to sanding to roads to sidewalks to crosswalks to hydrants to the never-ending water breaks that the poor DPW has to go out and deal with. It's an extremely challenging, difficult job. And now, of course, the potholes are everywhere because of the changing temperatures. And so this is a very challenging time. And then when you're dealing with a newborn who is teething at keeping us up at night, it's been a very stressful time. And I was not in a very good mood this morning. But it's great to be here. Not to echo everything that's been said, but I did want to briefly say that, you know, oftentimes, or you just turn on the TV, CNN, Fox News, whatever, and you just see the dysfunction that takes place in the federal government, everything that takes place, the negativity, and it's really refreshing to be able to work in the local level and in the state level to accomplish things and get things done. And we're very fortunate to have outstanding legislators. Joan Lovely, who I tease all the time, but now she is I do consider her a resident of the city of Peabody, even though she lives in Salem. Tom Walsh, Ted Spiliotis just do an outstanding job for us. We collaborate all the time. Tom mentioned a meeting we had at a neighborhood, and this was a very small meeting, just a few residents, but there was myself, Tom Walsh, Ted Spiliotis, and Joan Lovely at that meeting to meet with these neighbors on just a you know, relatively a smaller issue for the city at large, but it was a very important issue for that neighborhood, and we were there. And it just shows what type of leadership we have. Our city councilors, two of them today, and they're really two of the leaders of the city council, not just in the city council, but in the city, Dave Gravel and Tom Gould. Tom Rosignol has been a member of really one of the leaders of the school committee. He's now just been elected to the city council. And Mark O'Neill is our new Ward 6 councilor. He was sworn in, I think, on January 8th. And even before that, I think on January 4th, he was at a large meeting on a difficult issue for the planning board. But really hardworking, wonderful people. And again, it's great to see what we do compared to what happens in the federal government. It doesn't get into parties. It doesn't get into the negativity. It's all about, okay, we have an issue. How do we make it happen? How do we work this out and help people? And it's really wonderful to see. I did want to mention our light plant, PMLP. All of you know that deal with the city. We have a real treasure there, just outstanding group that does amazing things. I wanted to recognize them and appreciate them that here today. Glenn Truera is the light plant manager. Bob Wheatley is the light plant commissioner who's here. And I just want to thank them for their work that they do for the city. I think I checked recently, it was maybe a few weeks back, we have the bottom 5 electric light, or the electric light bills in the state. We have the bottom 5 in water and sewer bills in the state, and I think we are in the bottom 5% for taxes. City's doing some things right, and the light plant does some things right. So thank you, guys. I want to just recognize our department heads very quickly. They don't have much clout. They're way in the back there, apparently. But I did want to mention Kurt Bellavance is our Community Development Director. Beth O'Donnell is our Human Resources Director. Julie Daigle was our Business Development Officer. She's now our City Treasurer. Chris Ryder, Darryl McCarthy, Mary Bellavance, who are tremendous help to me at the Mayor's office. Brenda Wolf is our Nurse Director. Our new Business Development Officer is Debbie McGregor. And then Mike Gingras is, I call him the Bill Belichick of City Hall. He's the one, whenever I go in and say, Mike, he's our finance director, I want to spend some money on a park. He just grunts and kind of looks at me and just shakes his head and walks away. That's kind of how he handles things, which is great. Keeps me in line. I want to thank, there's a tremendous amount today of volunteers that serve on a number of boards for no pay, to come to the city, to try to help us on different issues. Thank you so much for that work. And again, a quick thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, not only for this morning, but all the work they do. DEANNE HEALEY has just been a tremendous partner for us. I'm thrilled that she's going to be staying involved in the Peabody Main Streets program. She's made a difference, and the Chamber of Commerce, all of you have made a difference for the city of Peabody. I'm just going to try to be brief, mention a few things. I always consider my job really 4 areas. Economic development, which I'll kind of focus on today, education, public safety, and then quality of life. When I was first sworn in as mayor in 2012, I shared a vision for Peabody which included a growing economy, great schools, safe neighborhoods, and a good, affordable quality of life for our fellow residents. In setting forth an agenda for my administration, I strive to be ambitious and optimistic, befitting a city built by the ambition and optimism of generations who came before us. I sought to be a problem solver because a city the size of Peabody certainly has its fair share of problems to solve. And I sought to renew the Peabody pride which so many of us experienced growing up in this wonderful city. Working together with so many of you during the past 6 years, I am proud to report that we have made remarkable progress toward the vision of a better Peabody. In 6 short years, we have revitalized key sections of our local economy, improved our capability in handling water, and those that have known our city's troubles over the years can definitely speak to the fact that we have improved the downtown situation in terms of handling water and certainly, I don't want to say eliminated, but greatly reduced those flooding concerns. We've increased our investment in education and public safety and helped make Peabody an even more desirable place to live, work, and raise a family. And we have done it all without sacrificing the affordability for which Peabody has long been recognized and admired. In terms of economic development, and this has been a focus for mine from the very beginning, to help restore our city's stature as a driver of the region's economy, we immediately set our sights on revitalizing downtown Peabody. Once a hub of people, culture, and commerce and the center of civic life in our community, downtown Peabody has struggled for decades to carve out an identity of its own. In the past 6 years, however, the downtown has undergone a dramatic makeover. Beginning in 2013 and concluding earlier last year, we leveraged 2 state MassWorks grants to redesign Main Street and Peabody Square, to create additional parking, improve pedestrian safety, and make the entire area more attractive to business and residential development. All told, we invested nearly $6 million in state and local funds, and there was primarily $4.2 million in state grants that we received to improve our downtown infrastructure, an amount few cities and towns of any size could boast. This targeted use of state and local funds to attract private investment is paying significant dividends. The most recent example is No. 1 Main Street, a building that has been largely vacant for decades. Historically known as the O'Shea Building, the new owner of the property, Pat Tedisco, is building 21 units of much-needed apartment housing in the upper 3 floors of the structure. The first floor, as many of you know, and DeAnne mentioned it earlier, will be home to the all-new Brody's Pub, and Mike Votto is here today. I think Mike is over here. Very excited about that. Work is underway. I've seen the plans, and it looks amazing. 1 Main Street is exactly the type of combination residential and commercial development that helped revitalize downtown Beverly, Salem, and Danvers in recent decades, and will likewise help downtown Peabody to thrive in the years ahead. In addition to the new Brody's, the return of Brothers Deli, Breaking Grounds Coffee, and our outstanding roster of existing downtown restaurants, there is more good news coming to Main Street. A new Mexican restaurant, La Siesta, plans to open this spring at No. 3 Main Street, right next to Brody's. This is a restaurant that's in Winthrop, and I'm told that it's the governor's favorite restaurant, and it'll be coming to Peabody. This is another property that has been vacant for several years and which contains a residential component on its upper floors. Local favorite, the Next Mex Thing, which is right next to City Hall, is looking to expand their operation at 75 Main Street, which is right across from the library, and right next door to the proposed site of Peabody's first ever brew pub, Granite Coast Brewery, which we've been working to get here for a number of years. Tom Walsh mentioned liquor license. I did want to briefly touch on that because when we were looking at trying to invite restaurants or recruit restaurants to come to the city, the problem is we did not have a liquor license to give to anybody. The last 2 liquor licenses that were sold went to major chains well in excess of $100,000. For a mom and pop restaurant, the restaurant we were trying to get downtown, they couldn't afford to do that. We had to make that investment. We had to chase those liquor licenses so that we could recruit those restaurants that we want here and make it happen for them. A restaurant is not going to be able to succeed without a beer and wine license or an all-alcohol license. It's just not going to happen. We needed to get those liquor licenses for them to come here and have that ability, and have it, instead of having to go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then in addition to the money they were going to need to do their work. It just wasn't going to happen. And I think that was a great move by the city, and I appreciate our legislators' work on that. These new establishments will create dozens of new jobs, tens of thousands of dollars in new revenue for the city, and will dramatically improve the appearance of the Main Street landscape with new facades and sidewalk amenities. A new initiative this year is a focus on bringing performing arts downtown. Thanks to our exceptional partnership with Northeast Arc, and I know there's a number of Northeast Arc representatives here, and I thank them, and its team of dedicated fundraisers, the Black Box Theater will soon open as downtown Peabody's newest cultural attraction. In partnership with the Peabody Cultural Collaborative, we additionally will expand our performing arts program at City Hall, as well to include concerts and other performances designed to attract visitors. We have invested in state-of-the-art audio and visual equipment for the Wigan Auditorium at City Hall, and will soon embark on renovations to the historic and beautiful auditorium ceiling. Although some in our community cautioned against attempts to revitalize downtown Peabody, I heard many excuses and many reasons why we shouldn't. Others demonstrated the courage and vision to challenge conventional wisdom. Although much work lies ahead, downtown Peabody stands on the cusp of an historic revitalization. Education, just briefly. As you know, our city's commitment to education was on grand display last year when we opened the new Higgins Middle School, a $92 million project which came in on time and under budget, and is now considered a model for cities and towns across Massachusetts. The project's final phase, the new Firefighter James Rice Memorial Fields, will open later this year and provide much-needed play space to generations of Peabody athletes. At the high school this past summer, we underwent a major renovation with the installation of a new roof, improvements to the auditorium, including all new carpeting and seating, and a new floor surface for the gymnasium. A second phase of auditorium improvements is planned for this year, with some further enhancements to the auditorium and to the upper fields at the high school. This year we also put forward a brand new science curriculum for our from K through 10th grade. It's the FOSS program, and really it's more of a focus on hands-on lab work, and the results are terrific. Also, our Chromebook initiative, I've mentioned in the past, when we opened the new middle school, we had a goal of making sure every student had a Chromebook to take home, to kind of take away the reliance on textbooks and paper. Right now, from grades 6 through 10, every student has a Chromebook. Next year will be 6 through 11. The year after will be 6 through 12. In addition to that, every single classroom that we have in the city has a Chromebook cart from grades K through 5. Very few cities and towns in the state can boast of that investment and having that happen in their school system. And I think that's going to just continue to pay dividends for us. Public safety. We made a significant investment in public safety last year, adding additional firefighters to the ranks to ensure that each of our 5 city fire stations is always manned with 3 firefighters. We believe that improves safety for our residents, but also for our firefighters. That was a big investment that the city made. Recently, the Massachusetts Police Accreditation Commission awarded the Peabody Police Department accreditation status for the 7th consecutive assessment, which is a significant accomplishment and shows the department's excellence and the hardworking men and women we have in that department. This fall, our community came together to show our respect and eternal gratitude to our police officers and firefighters when we dedicated the beautiful new Peabody Public Safety Memorial at Emerson Park. If you haven't seen it, please drive by and see it. It's amazing. And it stands to honor the dedication and sacrifice of those who serve, those who once served, and those who will serve this great city of Peabody in the years to come. Our commitment to public safety continues to yield tangible results. Peabody was just named among the top 30 safest cities in America by Safe Home, an organization that analyzes FBI crime statistics for America's cities and towns. We were the third in Massachusetts, behind Newton and Brookline. City of Peabody was third, something very proud of. Very briefly, on quality of life issues continues to be chief among my highest priorities as mayor. By modernizing our aging infrastructure, creating new open space and recreational opportunities, and providing the core municipal services that taxpayers expect, we help make Peabody an even more desirable destination for families and business. One brief announcement, I made this at the State of the City a couple weeks ago. We've been approved for a $10 million state and federal grant to redesign the corridor from Wilson Square down to downtown Peabody Square. New sidewalks, new crosswalks, new lighting, new safety measures, handicap, more accessibility for those that are suffering from handicaps. And it is going to be a major change and major difference maker for our downtown, helping with traffic flow, accessibility, and the safety and quality of life of tens of thousands of Peabody residents. We're also doing a major water quality and drainage improvement project that will help water pressure in some areas that have long been plagued by that. Crystal Lake is moving forward into the second phase, which we're very excited about. This is the fun phase where we're getting to put docks and a big fountain, picnic areas. The dredging has been completed. And let's see, financial update real quick. Although our budget obligations have increased, we are still able to invest in Peabody's future thanks to our city's financial strength and the strong partnership my administration has with the City Council. Two goals this year, two initiatives that are being started this year, and Tom Walsh mentioned it. One is the light rail. It's a goal of mine and a hope of mine that we could have that light rail trolley coming into downtown Peabody. Years ago, we purchased a lot of land in that area for parking and for build-out. And we think it'd be a great addition for our downtown to continue the work of making sure that we have housing, residential, commercial, all of that mixed together to make that area a success. The second is something that I'm kind of announcing tonight for the first time, and I had to check with our excellent municipal light plant to make sure they're comfortable with it, and they are. Today, we are beginning a partnership with the Peabody Municipal Light Plant on plans to construct a high-speed fiber loop in the city of Peabody. The fiber loop will first enable connection of PMLP installations scattered all across the city. The partnership will establish the outline for PMLP and city municipal users to design an open fiber system to deliver high-speed data networking between Peabody Public Schools, city public facilities, installations operated by the Department of Public Services, and other municipal users throughout the city. We're working on creating that fiber line really in an effort to provide alternatives to Comcast. Too long we've been begging Verizon to come. They will not come to the city of Peabody, which is unfortunate. I've joined with Mayor Driscoll and really put forward, I think, a pretty strong proposal to bring Verizon here, the two of us, even guaranteeing a certain amount of business. Verizon will just not come to the city of Peabody, and they just keep telling me it's because of the infrastructure costs. We've looked at other alternatives, RCN and some others, having some movement on that, but we need to bring competition to Comcast for our residents and for our business community. And this is not going to happen tomorrow. This is not going to happen this month. This is not going to happen even this year. This is a long-term project, but the hope is to bring high-speed gigabit internet service that will allow the city of Peabody to provide that to its residents. And I thank the Light Plant for their leadership in that. And if they run this program in the years ahead like they run the electric light program, it's going to be a big success. So I'm very excited and happy about that. Our bond rating remains the second highest bond rating you can have as a community. We're one of only a few cities and towns that have the bond rating that we do. Our healthy reserves, our excess levy capacity make us a very strong financial community. For the third year in a row, our average residential home value has increased. Last year, Peabody home values increased by an average of 6.7% and are projected to increase by another 5% this year. We are a desirable place to live because homeowners get exceptional value for their tax dollar. While our residents enjoy a level of municipal services which meet or exceed those of nearby cities and towns, they benefit from property tax bills that are on average hundreds and even thousands of dollars less than those communities. In fact, once again this year, Peabody homeowners will have among the lowest residential tax burden in all of Massachusetts, and we are the lowest city in Essex County. I just want to thank all of you. I express my sincere gratitude for many of you here tonight and across our city for supporting a bold, ambitious, optimistic, courageous, problem-solving vision for a better Peabody. A lot of work still ahead of us, but some good things are happening in our community, and I want to thank all of you for being a part of that. I don't know if I was 10 minutes. I might have been a little longer than that. I'll blame Ted Spiliotis and say I took a couple of his minutes too. But certainly if there's any questions for myself, for our legislative delegation, please, fire away. Be happy to talk about other things that are happening in the city. And again, I could probably talk for another couple of hours about what's going on. Any questions or anything? Yeah, I think they're done hearing from us. I think everybody's done hearing from us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Conclusion. So students, did you take notes? There'll be a quiz. No, just kidding. Lots of exciting things going on. It's such a positive way to start the new year, and I just applaud you all, and thank you again to Mayor Betancourt and our elected officials for joining us this morning. Kevin Tierney of North Shore Bank for your continued support of this annual event and for all you do with the community. And then a personal thank you to Courtney Clapman, the Chamber Membership Manager who has helped me, and Chris FEAZEL, who is the Chairman of the Board, my Frank Sinatra, I couldn't have pulled this off without them this morning, so thank you very much for that. Yes. As Chris mentioned, the Chamber has been and will continue to be involved in as many business and community initiatives. Each one of you through your Chamber membership says, I think it's valuable, and that the business community has a seat at the table and input on issues of importance. The Chamber of Commerce members are there for each other. They're people who care about many of the same things that you do and want to support each other, support each other's organizations. Our members are interested in doing business locally and love seeing other members prosper and succeed. So take advantage of your membership by using the online directory as a resource, checking out our new website, peabodyareahazit.com, or calling the Chamber office for a referral or an introduction. We are there to assist. Please support those who support your local Chamber of Commerce, because together we will continue to do great things. Thank you and have a successful day.